Hi, good morning and welcome to yet another Take 30. This week we are focused on the new features in Tableau 2020.3. In terms of the agenda, we're going to do some introductions, talk about the upcoming schedule of events, and then the team is going to give you an overview of the new features along with a demo, and then we'll open it up for question and answer. Certainly, as we go through the Take 30, if you do have questions, please feel free to ask them, and we'll take them as they come. All right, so in terms of upcoming events, so today is, again, we're focused on Tableau 2020, but the next two sessions, the next one will focus on leveraging AWS governance at scale to drive cloud adoption. And then the next BI session on November 19th will be on design sprints, right? So that is our design thinking approach to reduce risk and drive adoption. And certainly we continue to have our Take30 One-to-Ones. So these are opportunities for you to have a private conversation with Ironside, right? Connecting with either with a practice lead, so in BI, information management or data science, and really any topic is fair game, anything from high level strategic to something technical and anything in between. If you are interested, check out our COVID page, and that's where you can register. All right, so today we've got Catherine and Ryan. I will allow them to introduce themselves. Go ahead, Catherine.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Catherine Wood. I'm a consultant with Ironside. I've been here for about 4.5 years. I've primarily focused on BI development, and lately have only been using Tableau for the most part within the past couple years, but I do have experience in other BI tools such as Cognos, Power BI, and like I said, lately a focus on Tableau.
Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Bone. I've been a consultant at Ironside for a few years, also mainly in the BI space, helping clients roll out Tableau across the organization and providing BI development to supplement their analytics. I've also helped clients as a member of the advisory team, helping build them data analytics maturity roadmaps. I just want to say thanks for joining us today, and I hope you learn a few things that you can implement in your Tableau environment.
So to start, just wanted to give a quick 2020.3 release overview. So this is the third release that Tableau has put out this year, and it was released in August 2020. Right now they are on 2020.3.2, that's the latest version, and that was released just a couple weeks ago at the end of October. This release just had a couple bug fixes that they found when they rolled out the full 2020.3, and they are currently beta testing 2020.4. And if you're interested in being part of that beta testing, you can register for their pre-release program on their website. It gives you a sneak peek, at the new features that are going to be released, and you also kind of just get some more background on what's in store.
So I'll start with a couple of the most popular additions in the new release. The first is being able to write to your databases in the cloud or on-premise from within Tableau Prep. So once you've selected the output step, you'll now see an option under database table under save output to. Type in the database information below, and lastly, you'll have the option to create a new table, append to an existing table, or replace data in an existing table. Now, this new feature really simplifies the process for those with or without database writing experience, and it allows you to centralize and scale your prep data. Second most popular update is a handy one for server and site admins. They can now apply minimum site role to user groups. So for example, if an admin wants to create a marketing team group, they would import the marketing team via Active Directory, select grant role on sign-in, set the minimum site role for the group to be Explorer or whatever site role you want them to be. So this would result in the marketing group being a list of unlicensed users, but once they sign into the site, they would be awarded the Explorer license or whatever site role that you decided on. But if they don't sign in, they would all remain unlicensed. So the benefits of this include fewer license requests because of the fact that they would all be unlicensed, but then once they sign in, they are awarded a license. So you don't have to deal with manually giving them license requests every time. It allows you to quickly scale because you can dump in the entire team into a single group. That allows you to not have to go one by one. And then you could also reduce the amount of wasted licenses that happens on sites based on inactive users having licenses. So one update to Tableau Server I thought was important to add was the new pre-flight check. So to ensure a smooth install or upgrade experience, Tableau Server now automatically performs a set of checks as you install or you go through the installation and upgrade process. These checks are designed to detect common errors and issues around permissions, credentials, and base ports. So SAP and Tableau continue to strengthen their relationship. Tableau has achieved a new SAP certification, which helps to improve the integration and compatibility between SAP HANA, and all of Tableau's services. So with the SAP HANA connector, you are now able to connect to table functions, which are stored procedures that return a table. In regards to Tableau Bridge, you can now stay up to date with new Tableau Bridge features due to their version upgrade notification, which automatically notifies you when a new version of Bridge is available. Secondly, you can now access virtual private cloud data using Tableau Bridge. In the past, Tableau expected Tableau Online to communicate with your cloud data stores and Tableau Bridge to communicate with your on-premise databases. But now you have the option to leverage Bridge for your cloud databases if you need to as well. There's been a small but meaningful new addition to relationships. Remember, relationships allow you to connect tables logically instead of physically using joins. Now you can create relationships based on calculated fields or compare fields using operators. If you take a look at the graphic on the right side, you can see the tables employee sales and employee are linked in a relationship through employee ID. But if the employees that have a new record for each sales team they've been on, and that would duplicate their sales, and therefore you can now utilize the operators to compare the sales month and the start and end date on the team field. And that allows us to limit the data to records that follow that logic. Moving on to some more consuming collaborative platform changes in Tableau Server, Tableau Online. So there's now a new tab, Shared With Me, that makes it easier for you to find important content that someone shared with you. There's also a couple export improvements. You can now select Crosstab from the list of download suggestions and get your output file in an Excel format. PDF subscriptions are now customizable, so you can now choose the page size and orientation of PDF attachments when you create or modify a subscription to a workbook or a view. Lastly, you can now set the frequency of your email subscriptions to only send data when it refreshes. And so this makes sure that you aren't getting email dashboards that don't actually have any updates. Under site status, there are multiple pre-canned dashboards that give you insight into your Tableau site, as many of you know. The stale content dashboard was an addition in 2020.2, but now it allows you to tag that content as stale if it hasn't been used or accessed within the specified time frame that you've set, which could be from 1 to 120 days. The default settings have it at 45 days currently. You can view files and tables that are embedded across workbooks in your site in the External Assets tab. This provides a holistic view of all data sources being used outside of those that have been published to your site. And you can also leverage the same tagging capability on external assets now as you would with data sources and workbooks to easily locate the external assets that are available in the search box.
Now I'm going to cover some of the updates that we wanted to highlight for Tableau Desktop specifically in this release. So this first one is around data quality warnings that are now available in Tableau Desktop. This is something that the warning can be created in Tableau Catalog, which is part of the data management add-on for Tableau. And in this screenshot here, you can see that there's an icon next to the data source that this user is connected to, and this indicates a data quality warning. While it doesn't tell you what that specific warning is, it at least alerts you that there is something to be looked at with this data. And then you can log on to Server to find the specific details related to this warning. And now I'm just going to show you a couple of the features that I found most useful in this release directly in Tableau itself. So they have some search improvements, the in operator, predictive modeling functions, custom fiscal dates, and set control updates. And I think they are very useful and practical in this release. So the first update are search improvements. And so what you can do here is now there's this filter icon and you can filter by and you can select calculation, dimension, measure, or comment. So let's go to calculation. You can see all of the fields in the data source that you're connected to that are calculations. And this might be useful, say you're working with a very large data set, or maybe you just forgot what you named a measure or a calculation when you were creating it. This is a quick way to see everything that is a calculation in your data source. And similarly, you can do that for dimensions, measures, and comments. And I find that this is specifically useful if, say, you're grouping by data source table. If you want to see all your measures at once, you would have to scroll through orders and see, okay, here are my measures for orders. Returns, here are my measures for returns. But instead, what you can do now is just filter for measures, and you'll see everything along with how it's grouped by the table itself. And you can click this filter icon if you don't want to. It works the same way if you just type in whatever syntax it indicates. The next feature that I want to highlight is very basic, but I think it is so useful and practical. So previously, there was never an in operator in Tableau. So let's say you're working with sales data and you have a list of customers that either you're assigned to, maybe they're priority customers, whatever it might be, and you just want to be able to filter for these customers specifically and create a flag around them. Previously, you would have to kind of make this lengthy statement where customer name equals name or equals this or that. And while, yes, it gets the job done, it is a little tedious to continuously copy and paste or customer name equals. So while it is basic, I think it is so useful that now there is an in operator, same syntax that you would see in any other language, just parentheses and comments between it. You can see, even just looking at it, this is easier to consume and easier to type. You can just paste the list in here if it's formatted correctly. And you can see that it works exactly the same as the old way. All the ends are still ends in terms of the flag, and similarly with the flags that are Y. Another useful feature in this release, you can create custom fiscal dates. So this can be useful for a lot of organizations in the retail and finance industry because I know those fiscal dates can differ from just a January to December year. So right now here, I just have month of order date, and I filtered it to 2020 just so that we're looking at 1 year. What you can do now is you can go into order date, change the default properties, and this will work for any date in your data source. And now there's this option here for fiscal year start. So instead of before, you would have to come up with some complicated logic to create these custom fiscal years yourself. This is built in now. So you can see if I change, like, say we have a July start, you can see now this year goes from July 2019 to June 2020. And if I look at this filter, now this is updated to reflect that it is the fiscal year 2020, not just overall the year 2020. And you can use this as a quick filter. You can use it in a calculation, however you might want to use it. In this release, there were a couple new predictive modeling functions that were added directly in your function list. So say you want to do analysis, that was more complex than just a trend line. So this example that I built here uses the new model percentile function, and it's a table calculation. And similarly, you can click on it just as you can with any other function, and it'll give you an explanation of it and give you the example of the syntax that you need to use. So what I started with here is I just graphed sales versus count of order IDs. And we would expect that the number of orders that you have directly correlates to the sales. And I just made this as at a detail at a month and year level. So when you're using this, you specify your targeted mark. So in this case, I'm using sales, and what predictors you want to use. And in this case, I use the count of order ID. So once I created this function, I dragged the calculation to my color mark, And what this is going to do, it's going to assign a value between 0 and 1 to indicate whether the mark that you're viewing is higher or lower than expected based on count of order IDs, because that's what I'm using as my predictor. So for example, this December 2020 date, you can see that the value assigned to it is very low. It's close to 0. And the reason that is because there were 462 orders and $83,000 of sales. But if I look over here, there's a similar number of orders, but there's a similar number of sales, and there are much fewer orders. So while this is higher than predicted, and you can tell by the color and the value associated to it, this is lower than predicted. So it's just a quick way to look, these colors that are right around the white and gray area have a value around 0.5, which shows you that they are just around what you would expect for given the sales based on the number of orders. And then the last feature that I wanted to highlight, again, this is a basic one, but I think it's very helpful just especially from an end user's perspective. Set controls were introduced in 2020.2, and this update was around associating actions with the values in a set. So you could click on something and either add or remove values that are in a set. So in order to highlight this, what I did was I just created a sheet that has state names that have sales for January 2020. Then I created a set based on state name, and I created this it's blank right now, but this is a map for total sales by states that are in the state set. And what I did was I set up an action for change state set. And based on this list of states, whatever selected, I want to add that value to my state set. So what you can do now is, let's say I want to click on Colorado. You'll see that this directly impacts the states that are highlighted on my map. It'll show you their total sales, and you can keep clicking through states if you want to look at the total sum for a group of states that you're looking at. If you're trying to do analysis to see which states bring you over a certain target that you're looking at, whatever it might be. And as you click on them, it adds them to the set, and that set is displayed on this map. But let's say I wanted to look at a specific product. Previously, you saw a list like this, which was every product in your data set, and that's pretty hard to consume, especially right now. We're only looking at 3 states for January 2020. Unlikely that all of these products are relevant. And now there's this only relevant values, which was available for quick filters before, but they were not impacted by the values that are in the set. And now you can click only relevant values, and you can see I have a much smaller list. It's just easier to consume. You know exactly which products are going into your state calculations and your sales. And while it was something that was available in quick filters before, I think it's nice that it's available now with set controls. So those are the key features that we wanted to highlight in this release. There are additional features, but we found that most of those were kind of minor updates, and these were the kind of compelling, attention-grabbing features that we believe would be most useful for users in this release.
All right, thank you very much, Catherine and Ryan. So I guess we will move on and to the Q&A portion, and so we've got some questions here. So let's start asking those. Let's see. So the first question. Someone is asking, I thought you could already assign a minimum site role for users, such as an admin. You know, or as an admin, what is different in this new feature in 2020.3?
It's really the group utilization, like utilizing groups to assign roles now. So yeah, you can add users and then assign them site roles, but the problem is that becomes a pretty manual process, and you also continue to get requests from different users to get assigned different roles. So also, if you assign them a role and they don't use it or sign in, it'll get wasted. So now think about setting those roles in groups and then importing those individuals that you need into that group and assigning them a minimum set role. So now that process is automated. So once they sign in, they get awarded like the license that you chose for them. And if they don't, which many times we are giving away licenses to those that don't actually sign in. And if they don't, they actually stay unlicensed. So you're not wasting licenses on people that don't actually go to your site.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ryan, for that response. All right, so the next question is about the data quality warnings. So why is it useful to have data quality warnings added in desktop?
Yeah, I can take that. So yes, they were available in Tableau Catalog before, but let's say you're a BI developer who primarily builds dashboards in Tableau Desktop. Maybe you don't interact with these data sources in Server or in Catalog, whatever it might be. Previously, you would have to rely on whoever set that warning to contact you because they have a list of all of the owners who use the data source that they just flagged. So you would have to rely on that person to contact you. But let's say you missed an email, you forgot about it. Maybe this person forgot to send an email. Now you know when you connect to the data source directly in desktop, whether there's a data quality warning associated with it, and then you can go investigate it more yourself. So it just kind of takes out that component of having to rely on someone else to notify you that there's an issue with the data that you're using.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Let's see, got another question. Okay, so for the features mentioned under data management, do you first need the data management add-on to enable all of those?
No, actually, only for the external assets portion of it. So you can still see the pre-canned still content dashboard that I said came out 2020.2, but now you can tag that content as stale. So you can still do that even without the data management add-on.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, Ryan. All right, we've got a couple more questions, and I definitely wanted to throw up a survey at the end here as we exit. So, okay, another question. My organization uses Tableau Mobile. Were there any updates to Tableau Mobile with this release?
Yes, so there actually was one update to Tableau Mobile with this release, and that's the addition of view recommendations. So similarly to when you log into Tableau Server, there were recommendations already there, and now that's available directly in the app. So Tableau, using machine learning, will start to identify your user habits, similar users that are consuming additional content, or just overall popular content on your site that you might be interested in, and that will be available directly to you now in the Tableau mobile app on the homepage.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, Catherine. All right, so sounds like it looks like we've got two additional questions. The pre-flight check, that sounds like a great feature, but what if we're in a situation where we've already done the install? Is there a way for me to run that check after Tableau has been installed?
Yeah, you can do that from the command line using TSM. So you have options to run either a port check to ensure the appropriate ports are open, or a permissions check to ensure the right permissions are in place.
All right, great. Okay, thank you, Ryan. All right, and the last question. We've been telling our users about Ask Data and suggesting they leverage it more, but wondering if there are any changes we can investigate to make it more useful to our users. Do you have any ideas you can share?
Yeah, so one thing that you want to do is simplify your data sources as much as possible. And you can do that by making sure fields have unique and meaningful names, something that either your users can interpret better and also the Ask Data can leverage. And actually in this release, there is an additional feature that you as an organization, you can customize the language and questions that Ask Data is using. So maybe you have a field that a developer knows what it means, but it maybe has another term that the end users are using or whatever it might be. So you can actually make those customizations now and Ask Data.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you, Catherine. All right, so with that, let me conclude the Q&A portion, and I will put up a poll. 1 second here. All right, and what we're interested in here is understanding, which Tableau's products are you using in your organization, or which would you want to hear most about? And the idea here is that we want to, we're just trying to better understand where we should take future Take30s on Tableau. So go ahead and fill out the poll if you would. We'll leave that up for a minute. All right, seems like we've got some interest in Tableau Prep, Tableau Server. Okay, all right, so with that, I will close the poll. And basically we had 50-50 between Tableau Server and Tableau Prep. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Catherine and Ryan, for taking us through that. And again, this session is recorded, so we'll have it up on, you'll be able to access this recording from our website in a few days. And have a great rest of the week and a great weekend. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.